Hello and welcome to Simplified on PowerDrift, where we take complicated automotive ideas, break them down into small bite-sized pieces that you can digest easily. And today we are talking about consumables as an idea. What does your motorcycle consume as you ride it? And you'll be surprised with what all it does. Before we go ahead, subscribe button, the bell notification icon, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and please do share these videos with your friends, including the Simplified playlist that is on our YouTube channel and that has more than 30 videos now and more are coming. So, consumables. The fundamental word consumables obviously implies something that gets used up in the process of doing something else. In the case of motorcycles, the most common consumable obviously is the petrol. So when your petrol runs out, you go to a petrol station, you fill up and you go, knowing that every kilometer that you cover, you're burning some of this petrol, and at some point it'll run out and you'll do this process again. What is sometimes not obvious to motorcycle riders is that many parts of the motorcycle are being consumed as you ride, and therefore you need to pay attention to how much consumption is there. You might be able to intervene and extend the mileage, as it were, of other consumables, not just petrol. And that some parts wear out so slowly that it's easy to forget that they're consumables, and that means when it comes time to replace them, you act surprised, where honestly, you shouldn't be. The most crucial consumable on your motorcycle, apart from petrol of course, is your tires. Your tires wear out from the moment you mount them to your rims and start riding. And if you get performance tires, they'll wear out earlier because they give a lot more of themselves to every kilometer that you cover, whereas longevity-oriented touring tires or commuting tires will last a really long time, giving a lot less back as life goes on. So on a fast machine, 650cc plus, you might, with hard riding, be able to get completely worn out rear tires in as little as 7,000 or 8,000 kilometers. Fun 7,000-8,000 kilometers, but that's how long a performance tire will last. Take the same tire to a racetrack, it will wear out even faster because the performance is of a much higher order. Switch to touring tires and that 8,000 will become maybe 15,000, but without that level of grip. And if you switch to something that is totally durability oriented, you might get 20,000, 30,000 kilometers out of it. It will never be as outright grippy as a performance tire, but at 30,000 kilometers, you still have to replace it. Right? What that means is, periodically, maybe once a month, you need to look at your tires carefully and see how they're wearing out and how much they're worn out, and replace them on time. We've done other simplified videos talking about stuff like the tire tread, the numbers on the side of the tire, what do they mean, and you can use those videos to figure out when your tires are worn out. But the important thing is, if you're riding your motorcycle on worn out tires, you're effectively doing yourself a disservice. It's like eating the best cake in the world 5 days after it got spoiled. It's no longer the best cake in the world, and it's the same with your tires. If it doesn't have enough tread, it will not clear dust and water, therefore it will feel slippery. If it's a really old tire and it's cracking, something called dry rot, if it's cracking, it no longer has the ability to grip, so your motorcycle will feel like it's skating around or sliding around. All of these are unpleasant ways to ride motorcycles, and because you're watching this video, I know that you love motorcycles. Why would you do this to yourself? The third thing should be obvious because you do deal with it at service is the air filter. The more choked up it gets, the less air can go into the engine. The less air that can go into the engine, the less the carburetor or the fuel injection system will use fuel to compensate for it, and your motorcycle will just run worse. In India, this is important because we are a dusty country in general, so our air filters clog up faster than normal, and therefore it's important to keep an eye on it. Most Indian manufacturers do already account for this. So when they give you a service interval, it's in your manual. Please read your manuals. When you see that interval in your manual, the dusty conditions are already accounted for, so you don't have to do any more mathematics. But if you're riding something large and imported, designed for Europe or America, you do need to bring down the service interval proactively so that you have a clean air filter, even if you don't do full service at that point of time. The next thing that gets consumed are, of course, all the other fluids in the motorcycle apart from the petrol itself. Your brake fluid is sitting there, 0.4 or 5.1. We have a video on why 5.1 is a great upgrade. Please do go see it. It's also in the Simplified series. 4 and 5.1 absorb water constantly, and as they absorb water, their ability to function gets worse. So if you have a brake, a hydraulic brake setup or a hydraulic clutch setup, both of them suffer as the fluid degrades, and that's not just debris and stuff accumulating in it. It's also the quality of the fluid itself. It's also how much water it's taken on in the period that it's been on. And honestly, if you're riding a motorcycle with hydraulic disc brakes, and you are, most likely, and you can't remember when you change the brake fluid, it's probably time to change the brake fluid. As soon as you do, you'll get much better brakes on the motorcycle without spending on the braided lines and the updated brake pads and all of that. That comes much later. Your fluid will do 90% of the heavy lifting if it's just fresh. The same also goes for the fluids in your suspension units at the front and the rear of the motorcycle. If you're riding long distances hard and putting lots of miles down, you should really be checking your fork fluids every year. For people who ride less, 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years apart is okay. But you need to know what the state of the fork fluid is and periodically reevaluate it, because it is very much not visible, but it's very much a consumable. Next is the engine itself. The engine, the internal combustion engine, is not designed for an infinite lifetime. Even that has a service life. In a car, that service life might be as much as 500,000 kilometers. That's why they're heavier, larger, more durable. On a motorcycle, they might last 200,000 kilometers. They are lighter, they're meant to be less durable. But what that also means is that every part of that engine, camshafts, valves, the springs, the conrods, the piston, the rings, everything, they're all wearing out at a very slow rate as time passes. And that means once you hit 50, 60, 70,000 kilometers, you might have to do a valve clearance check to ensure everything is okay. That's just sign of wear and tear. And you can accommodate it by changing a small, for example, a valve clearance can be fixed with a shim. But as time passes, the shims will no longer work, and at that point, it will be time to rebuild the head again, for example. That's consumption happening. It's just happening at such a slow rate that you don't pay any attention to it. If I were to give you the task of doing 60,000 kilometers on your motorcycle this year, you would notice how you're consuming your engine in the process, because the mileage and the time are a much more compressed quantity. But if you're going to keep a motorcycle around for a long time, you don't have to do anything more than give it fluids and air filters and oil filters and all that kind of thing. But if you're going to keep the motorcycle around, remember that you are consuming the engine, and if you keep it around long enough, you're going to have to give consumables back, which means fresh valves, fresh pistons, whatever it is. 2 strokes used to be a lot more sensitive to it. 4 strokes are a lot more reliable, but they're still being consumed. Why is this important? It is important because when you and I love motorcycles, we want to have our motorcycles in the best condition possible. The consumables that wear out fast or are in your manual are very easy to track. The fuel gauge will immediately tell you that you're out of fuel. Your manual will tell you that every 5,000 kilometers you have to go to service and stuff like that. So it's very easy to track these. If you're a careful rider, you'll also know that you'll top up your air every week, you'll lube your chain constantly at whatever interval you're happy with, and you'll check your tires once a week to ensure that the tread depth, etc. is okay, there are no punctures that you're unaware of, dry rot has not set in. If your bike is parked for a long time, you rotate the tires, etc. You're already doing all of these things. But there are other less visible consumables in play that will slowly diminish your riding experience, and that's the reason why a new motorcycle feels new, because all the consumables are fresh. And a 3-year-old motorcycle rarely feels new because a lot of those consumables are now old. If you were to update those consumables, you'd get very close to the feel of a new motorcycle. And to me, that is an exciting and not always an expensive prospect. Which of this makes sense to you? Leave us a comment. Which of this you think you just shouldn't bother with? It's just too much OCD happening. Leave us a comment. Let's discuss this further. And if there's anything else, any other topic at all in motorcycling that you'd like to see on Simplified, all you have to do is type in a comment down there and we'll get right on it. Thank you so much for watching. This is Simplified on PowerDrift. This is our nth episode of the Simplified series. We have a playlist on the YouTube channel that has all the episodes more or less in the order they came out. Please do go see those. I think there's a lot of good information in there that you can use in your life with motorcycles. Before I go, let me remind you, subscribe button and the bell notification icon so that you get notifications for other Simplifieds if you like this video. And if you did like this video, just hit the thumbs up button for us and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.